And don't get me wrong, I agree with some of the things that Perk said, and I disagree with some of the things he said as well. What's up, y'all? It's JC. If you're new, welcome to the channel. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. So recently on ESPN, Kendrick Perkins had some words for Anthony Edwards. He was talking about the characteristics of what a player should be, how a player should act as the face of the league. And he had this to say about Anthony Edwards. Take a listen.
The bigger picture, right? You got to check the boxes when you're the face of the league. Yes, we know you got to have your signature shoe. You're going to be in commercials. You're going to have the highlights. You got to have the game. But you know what else you got to have? You got to be a role model, right? And things outside the lines matter. Now, if you go down the list of all the faces of the league in the history of the game, you look at Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, LeBron, Steph. What did they all have in common? While they was playing in the league, they all were family men. They all were married with kids. And if you think that don't play a role as far as the role model, this is facts. This is not something that I'm making. Hold on. But this is not something that I'm making up. Now, what happened to them after they retired? That's their business. But while they are playing or was playing, they were family men.
Now, don't get me wrong. I agree with some of the things that Perk said, and I disagree with some of the things he said as well. When you're talking about the signature shoe, check. The commercials, check. And then he started talking about the role model. I agree with that. I agree with that. But the examples he gave is kind of, I would say it's subjective, right? He mentioned that Anthony Edwards pretty much isn't a family man. He's implying that he's not a family man. If you know about Anthony Edwards, if you follow him offline, you know about the drama that he's been through over the past, 3 years, right? So I'm not going to dig deep into that. And by no means am I defending it, but I'm also not criticizing it right now, because I believe everyone has to answer to somebody or a group of people one day about their actions, whatever, right? You have to own your actions, whether good or bad. That's how I view it. And he mentioned the role model part, right? The face of the league, family man. He mentioned MJ, Magic Johnson, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Steph. He mentioned all these players. And I think that's a little unfair. Just being transparent, being real. We know what Magic Johnson went through. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was still married when that situation happened. I'm not going to dive deep into it. I'm sure you can guess what I'm talking about, or you know what I'm talking about. You don't even have to guess. And then when it comes to, these other players, you got Shaq, Kobe, LeBron. He mentioned MJ as well, Steph. I believe in a social media era, as everyone knows, word can spread like that. Your business is not as private as it would be in the 1980s as a celebrity, right? Celebrities, famous people, their life is pretty much, if you're on that tier of, fame, your life is pretty much documented, since a young age. So it's kind of hard not to, it's hard to hide things, right? Whether it's the good things or the bad things are going to come out. People are human, right? Nobody is perfect. So I disagree with Perk on that. You got to think, man, during the 80s, we're talking pre-social media. How news spread it was either television, watching the news, right? The newspaper, or word of mouth, right? Not social media. You can open up social media, see one thing, whether it's, a real quote or a real story or not, and it can spread like wildfire, right? You can go viral in seconds. So I disagree with Perk on that, and I don't like talking about people's personal life, to be honest, because it's things that we do as humans that aren't looked upon the right way as, the next man or the next person. Like somebody have done something past that I don't agree with. I may have done something past that someone else doesn't agree with. So that's how I view it. When I talk about the social media era, nobody is perfect. You never know what these guys were doing. You just don't know. You don't know. And that's what I'm simply saying. I'm not blaming anything on anybody. I'm not pointing to anybody. You just simply you don't know. So those are my thoughts. And please excuse the hoodie, man. It's been the temperature dropped in DC, something crazy, man. It's spring, right? Spring. It was like 90s and the 80 high 80s like a week ago, week and a half ago. It dropped all the way down to the 50s tonight, and it was raining. So excuse me for the hoodie. I usually just go with the hat, fitted, snapback, whatever. Um, so please excuse me for that. My apologies. My apologies. Those are my thoughts in the comments. Let me know yours.